Girls are taught to be perfect and boys are taught to be brave. I've always been stuck in a perfection loop. That's definitely resonated with me so much.
And now here we are questioning the norm, and I love that.
Because women build better businesses.
It just so happens that women are more collaborative, more inclusive. Um, we look at what's for the greater good. And when you apply that over a business structure, everything flourishes.
If you're stuck, this is my sixth one, my little extra bonus.
We're sharing the 5 truths we've learned about business, life, and ourselves in 2025. Laura, you first.
All right, I'm in the hot seat to start with. There was a lot of big things that came up this year for sure, and what a great year it was in a lot of ways. Through our podcast, especially, we spoke to incredible women, business owners, who shared so many truths, and a lot of what I learned this year, I will credit to them. So thank you, ladies, all of you that joined us this year, and brought your vulnerability, your bravery, your advice, your mentorship, and shared your knowledge. Thank you so much. I am going to give you guys a high five on all of these. But I'm going to start with one that has been resonating, and I think we've repeated it several times since we first heard this one this year, which is girls are taught to be perfect and boys are taught to be brave. That one hit me like an absolute ton of bricks. I think mostly because I'm a mom, right? So I'm always thinking about these things and what am I sharing and what am I teaching my kids and what world do I want them to grow up in and have and what type of humans I want them to become. But I don't think about how much this is truth. Yeah.
It is a
Girls.
truth. It hit me too. It really struck me as a truth. And it's also a truth that can be changed. And I think this is what some of the conversations were about over the season and over the whole year as we were focusing on how can we raise women's not just profile, but confidence and all of those important elements of what it is to be a woman in business, a successful woman in a successful business, and growing it yourself. And I think what really struck me about that incredible concept is that, first of all, how had I never thought about it that way before? How had I
Right?
never seen that? Because it's so normal. I think it's just how it is. And now here we are questioning the norm. And I love that.
Same. So having those high level conversations about how do we change this from the very beginning? Like, how do we help us drop the perfectionism as women and be braver and do those things that feel uncomfortable that we don't want to do? And how do we help the next generation to do that from the beginning? So they're not stuck in perfection loops. I've always been stuck in a perfection loop. That's definitely resonated with me so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's cool also that now that we're at the age of adulthood, we can see these things consciously, cognitively. And then, from my coaching seat, I'd say, let's reparent ourselves. Let's not get stuck in that narrative that we were raised to be perfect, so that's our problem. Let's make sure that we recognize what it is and then work towards ourselves dropping that perfectionism and understanding that being brave actually gets you to those places faster, because that's why men are building successful businesses, because they're doing things without asking permission. They're just going for it. That's what brave means in business. This could be a whole episode. Maybe it will be next season. But yeah.
Well, that leads so well into my next one, my second one, which is women build better businesses. Again, this is a conversation we've had over and over and over again about the types of business women build, how different they are than the types of businesses men build. And a lot of it's to do with, I think, the type of lifestyle we want to create for ourselves, first and foremost, as a founder. Because when we start there, especially for those of you who understand solo, entrepreneurship, when you're just out there doing it on your own, that we do that to just create the type of lifestyle we need. Like for me, I was a single mom. I had two little kids, and I needed to figure out how to have as much flexibility as possible. So I created the type of business where I would be working in the evenings and on the weekends and, different times during the day, but I would have my breaks and I'd be able to take lunch when I wanted to and go to sports day all day, but rock up with my laptop. And, I allowed my business to just have that level of flexibility and never tie me down so that I could be present for my children. And that was really important to me. So that was the type of business I wanted to build. And the women we've talked to in our podcast have all built wildly different businesses with wildly different models, but they've all been around a lifestyle that's different and more nuanced and more flexible. I've seen that over and over and over again.
And the other part of that's so true, and I love that we do that. And the other part of women building better businesses is that flexibility comes into the culture. So even if you're not a solopreneur and you've built a big team, it just so happens that women are more collaborative, more inclusive. We look at what's for the greater good. And when you apply that over a business structure, everything flourishes because we're looking at the greater good. The work still gets done. The strategy is just as keen and sharp, and yet it doesn't exclude the important things like the humanness.
Exactly. And that's what we want for everyone going forward. Another thing that women need are more safe spaces to have deeper conversations. That's come really, really to the forefront this year. And you and I together built a membership for women that is intentionally for that. So we do, work through our system that we have to help women build a strong personal brand because we know how important that is. But what we've seen through these meetings and these conversations is the depth that we get to is you can't have that everywhere. You can't just rock up to your sister or your cousin or, acquaintance and start getting right into a deep conversation about entrepreneurship and imposter syndrome and all the things that, we may have going on right then and there in our lives and our business. And it's frustrating when you can't have those conversations and you want to, and you want someone to understand you on that level. You got to create the spaces where those happen naturally. And that takes real intention.
Yeah, it's that beautiful feeling when someone gets it. You're just clicking. It's just like, I don't even need to use my words anymore. You just get where I am right now. You get it. I feel held.
Yeah.
And we have, thanks to the beautiful members that are in that community of ours, the Women Founders Circle, thanks to them, we've created that space. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to inviting and welcoming more women founders into that space. It is so unique and it's hard to find, like you said. So I'm really blessed that we've been able to create that together.
Yeah, I'd say that's been one of the highlights of this year, for sure, absolutely for sure. And I'm so looking forward to seeing what next year brings. Okay, number 4, we need to stop doing what others tell us we should do, right? No more shoulding on ourselves. I love that statement. We need to listen to our intuition, the power of the female intuition. I think I've definitely been guilty of overthinking. The he knows I overthinking and dismissing my gut reaction to things. And that's something I want to bring more intentionality around as well into 2025 is using my intuition to guide me more because it's powerful. And we often, we dismiss it or we want to overthink it or we want to, come up with all the counter reasons why what we're thinking doesn't make sense. We do this to ourselves all the time. And I want to work more towards being guided by my intuition. It worked well over the last year, and I need to just bring more and more of that into it because I see the women who lead with their intuition, they're creating even more beautiful things in this world.
That's awesome. I'd love to know more about it. Tell me. how might you lean into that? How might in 2026 you honor your intuition? What would be an example of that?
Yeah, I think I know I'm someone who likes being busy. And I get, just into the grind, into the grind, into the grind, instead of taking enough time to step back and feel things through. So that's what I want to bring in. It's just a little like slowing down at the right times, a little more intention, and a little more thought, a little more how does this feel? Does this feel like the right way to go? Does this feel like the right decision to make? Does this feel like, the right next move? Or do I need more information? Or do I need to, like it's just a little bit more slowing down so I can be a little bit more thoughtful about how to scale and grow and how to get to the next level rather than just pushing through and working and working and working and working.
So I'm hearing more time for reflection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. More
That's
intention
cool.
around that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
And let's also just a little caveat with the how do I feel. I know that you're talking about your intuition and feeling into something. Just for our audience, sometimes how do I feel is the scared part, and so we don't do something. So don't act. We don't act on our feelings when it's stopping us from doing something. The use of feelings is to help propel us.
Yeah.
And if the feelings feel like, oh, I'm not going to do that because it doesn't feel right, then it's worth, a bit more reflection. Why doesn't it feel right? If it's really not the right thing to do, because the information shared tells you that, or is it a discomfort?
I think that's a really good point to bring up because we do have to distinguish between like, am I just not doing something because it's uncomfortable? And it could be the thing that helps you to grow, which, is often what we talk to people about is being stuck with not wanting to get on that stage, not wanting to speak on that podcast, not wanting to even show your face online because, you're afraid of something, judgment, that somebody's gonna laugh at you, that you're cringe. Yeah, so what? Like, but right? That is very different than your intuition telling you this is the wrong situation, this is the wrong move, this is the wrong decision, this is, and it is hard. And I think it takes that reflection, it takes that time to really delve into something and just not make hasty moves. Right? Because if it's just fear because it feels uncomfortable, okay, can you do a small step towards that thing? Because that thing is actually going to help improve your business versus, this is not for me and I'm never going to do it. Okay, maybe there's a reason. So it does definitely takes some introspection. I'm lucky. I have you on my side. I have you to have a conversation with every day and coach me through, any decisions and things like this that may be a sticking point. So anyone out there who doesn't have a coach or a mentor or a community, 2026 is going to be the year to find it. Find those people, find the ones you need to help you move forward because we're not staying stuck, ladies. We're not staying stuck anymore. It's time. It's time to build these better businesses. It's time to get up on those stages. It's time to take your mission forward. And, let's create movements. Let's create great, amazing things. Let's build what we need to improve this world for yourself and for others around you. So yeah, we're going to be focusing forward on that. So that's it. I'm lucky. I've already got a coach. She works with me. She's my partner. I'm the luckiest. But yeah, definitely come along and join us if that's a space that you need some help with. Because my fifth point, which is exactly that, is that relationships are the most important thing in business. Relationships, relationship-based marketing, relationships in partners, relationships with your customers directly, clients, whichever way you are, relationships with everybody you have to deal with. If you're a vendor who's, you're selling your merchandise for you, who like all these people in our circle of business are relationships. Them being strong and having good communication is so vitally part of doing good business. And that is just, I've realized that is the most important thing. I think that's my number one, like that's my final one because it's the most important one. It's all about relationships.
And doesn't that tie in so nicely to all the other points, including how women build better businesses? Because we're focused on the relationship and how that adds value to not just us, the thing that we're growing, our business, and also the people who we're involved with. Relationships are a two-way street.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everybody wins.
Yeah. And some relationships aren't going to work out. And I think it's important to look at that side of it too. Like sometimes you do have to end a relationship. That's just reality, and it's hard, and we often don't want to do that because it feels like we failed at something. But we have to, but sometimes holding on to a bad relationship holds us back from the other things we need, right? The other people we need in our lives, and the other ways we need to grow. So looking at it, being realistic, maybe trusting that intuition, going back to that again, and what is feeling right, what is feeling connected, or what needs to be improved. Because maybe a relationship is just bad because the communication isn't working. And you think you're saying one thing and they think they're saying the same, and neither of you are hearing what each other is saying. I think you said this a long time ago, and it's always stuck with me. It said it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what the other person heard. Yeah, tell us more about that, because I will never forget that. I think that's really important for people to understand.
Sure. I mean, sometimes people find this quite a controversial approach, but I live by it. I hand on heart, stand by it. And it doesn't mean that I get it right all the time either. But communication is not about what we say, it's about what lands and the way it lands. So, yeah, we are not responsible for the other person's view of the world. If we say something with great intent and it lands off, then we're not responsible for that, but we are responsible for our message being clearly imparted. So, for instance, in business, if you need something done, some simple example, like perhaps you have an assistant or a team member and you ask for something to be done and they don't understand it fully, then it's your responsibility to make sure they understand it fully. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah.
How can somebody know what you are thinking if you haven't communicated it effectively? And effective is based on the person you're talking to. That's why we have different ways of communicating, because different people see the world differently. Yeah,
Yeah. It makes so much sense.
I think it's as simple as checking in and just saying, so tell me what you think that meant, or, tell me do you want to reflect back to me what I've asked? Or, if there seems to be a bit of a conflict, help me understand what your understanding of this situation is. It's about leading with curiosity, not just going in and thinking that you're right about everything. Because there's always another side. There's always another view.
Yeah, exactly. And people come to anything with their own biases, assumptions, ways of doing things, cultural norms, right? And now that we live in such a globalized world too, we're often dealing with and working with people all around the world. And even a slang word may mean something in your, area and mean something completely different somewhere else. So it's just really about having that awareness and reading, the room, body language between the lines. And it's just putting that relationship as important. So if that relationship is important to you, then take the time to make sure that what you said was clear, that there were no misunderstandings, that there is, nothing brewing under the surface that hasn't been dealt with, because those are the things that cause it to overflow at some point, right? And then the relationship will break, because it'll often be a lot of things, especially if you have a team member that doesn't feel appreciated, but you don't know and you don't realize, and you're just chugging along with your day. And meanwhile, simmering under the surface, they're unhappy. And then one day they decide, oh, they're moving on, they're quitting. And you're like, oh, what do you mean? How could you leave me? I don't understand. Everything was fine. You just weren't even noticing that it wasn't fine. So it's about that awareness. I think that's something women are naturally good at. I think we have a little bit of that natural empathy within us, that nurturing thing, and you can kind of sense when somebody's off or they're acting a bit different. And it definitely helps to just, go back to that intuition. If something is feeling off, let's talk about it. Let's communicate. So more of that in 2026, better communication, and putting relationships first, because every client, every customer, everybody is a relationship. So think of them that way. Treat them with respect like you would any other relationship you care about. And I bet business is just gonna grow and grow and grow for everybody, for sure. So I have one more. I know I was only supposed to have five, but I cannot leave without stating this point because we've been focused on personal branding all year. It's really important to us, and we want more women to be building their personal brands and out there speaking on stages and sharing their message and their mission and writing those books and doing those TED Talks and whatever it is that is for you to get out there with. But to build that personal brand, it's so important to step out and step into your power and share your mission, because we know that you've got something important to say. So if you're stuck, this is my sixth one, my little extra bonus, is to remember this: best known will always beat the best.
Truth.
Okay. My top five truths from this year are: number one, girls are taught to be perfect while boys are taught to be brave. Number two, women build better businesses. Number three, women need safe spaces to talk about their unique experiences. Number four, we need to stop doing what others tell us we should do and start listening to our intuition. And number five, relationships are everything in business. And bonus, best known will always beat the best.
Truth.
All right, partner, that's mine. I went over, so I'm going to throw it back on you for the next episode. I cannot wait to hear what your five best things you learned this year were.
Thanks.